Welcome to Dory Cote on Shamanism, a weekly podcast that explores one theme in shamanism throughout each month. Get comfortable, have a seat, and let's get started.
Welcome to episode 51 of our podcast. Today, our topic is the difference between petition and decree when we talk about prayer.
Dory, please give us the definitions of petition and decree and explain how they are different from each other.
Well, when it comes to prayer from a shamanic perspective, we have to remember that we come from the belief system, the deep belief system. There is truly no separation between us and all beings, that we are all one. I am equal to the spirit of the tree, the spirit of the cloud, and that in truth, energetically, on a spiritual level, there is no separation amongst us. So the way in which we approach prayer can be fundamentally very important because it means the difference between continually asking for something to change versus approaching prayer from the perspective of everything is already perfect and I am not asking for anything to change. I'm decreeing that there is perfection in all that is. So, for instance, if I were to pray in a petition kind of way, I might say, "Dear spirit helpers, please make this stomachache of mine go away. I've had it. I don't want it anymore. Make it go away. Please, please, please." Okay, that's a petition. From a decree perspective, my prayer might sound something more like, "Dear spirit helpers, I acknowledge that there is something in my stomach happening, and I declare that it is perfect as it is, and I am whole, and I live into my wholeness. Thank you." So I'm not asking for anything. I'm just simply saying I am whole. I declare that I am whole. I see that my stomach is acting up right now, and it is a part of my wholeness, and I accept that it is as it is. That's the core difference between petition and decree. A decree begins with accepting that everything is perfect, that there is truly no illness or dis-ease. It's the way our ancestral mystical people functioned and the reason they were able to create the miracles that they created. We'll talk about that more in our next episode, but it is a powerful lesson to understand that continually going to spirit, whoever that is for you, and asking for something to change is a petition. And although people have historically prayed from a petition belief system through many years, decades, and centuries, really, of Judeo-Christian prayer, it is truly not the most effective way to pray. Praying is far more effective if we see our own divine self being a part of the divine beings of all in creation and seeing perfection and declaring that everything is perfection. So rather than seeing somebody as sick, we see them as whole. And in that seeing of them as being whole, we hold that truth for that being to live into.
The energy of the two seems different. A petition feels like requesting energy come to you, or spirit come to you. And the decree feels like it's power with you, that you are proclaiming that you already have spirit with you, and you are co-creating the perfection that is.
That's absolutely true. That is a good way to express the difference between the one and the other. It is truly about embodying or really trusting and knowing with every fiber of your being that you are a divine being, that you are whole, and that you see yourself as whole in all ways, and you live into that wholeness rather than seeing illness or seeing disorder or dis-ease and then trying to make it different.
And this is happening for you, not to you.
Exactly.
You're not victim, you are co-creator.
Exactly. Thank you.
And being taken care of.
Yes, all at the same time. You are the co-creator of your reality.
Is there a difference in the results of these two ways of praying?
Yes. From my experience and from the experience of many other shamanic practitioners all over the world, what we see is that, energetically, we create what we see, right? So if you look at your see if I can come up with a good example. If you look at your dinner plate and you see abundance, then it is abundance. If you look at your dinner plate and you see, oh my, that's not enough food for me today, or oh my, I don't like the color of that, or oh my, this isn't really all that tasty, then it is going to be exactly as you see it. When we look at something as being full, as being whole, as being vibrant, as being alive, as being in a state of grace, as being perfect just as it is, then we create what we see, what we know, what we believe, and what we speak. So from experience in the last few decades, practitioners here in the Northern Hemisphere have been utilizing this method, which is really ancient, of praying and trusting and believing and seeing wholeness where there might, according to others' beliefs, be brokenness. So again, as an example, a colleague of mine is currently in a situation where she has some cancer in her body. So as a community of people, we are not praying for her cancer to be healed. We are not praying for her, we're not focusing on the cancer. It's like, okay, thank you for letting us know. And now we all pray and send messages to her that we are seeing her in her divine wholeness, that we are seeing her as the embodiment of grace and divinity and light and wholeness and love and compassion and health, pure, abundant health. And in that seeing that truth, her spirit has the capacity to then live into that rather than absorb the focus of, oh my God, all these people are praying that my cancer will go away. And so the word cancer is all over the place. We're praying for the cancer to go away. Bye-bye cancer, heal the cancer, blah, blah, blah. We're focusing on the cancer if we do that. And then the result becomes somewhat uncertain because there's so much focus on the cancer rather than the wellness. And allowing the wellness and the grace and the beauty and the divinity and the light to evolve exactly as it's meant to be for this person's highest good, without predetermining in some way that it is in her highest good that the cancer be cured.
What I'm noticing about that example is that kind of decree and wholeness, focusing on the wholeness, is also healing the people, potentially healing the people who are doing the prayers for her.
Yes.
Because worry is praying for something, the results you don't want. And if someone is worried about their friend and has fear for their friend, and they pray for her wholeness, it heals them in the prayer.
Yes. That's a really great observation, and that is the absolute truth. It takes away that focus both on the part of the prayer and the recipient of the prayer of there being something wrong, of there being a brokenness or a worry or a heartache or anything of that nature. And that does then allow for community to come together and celebrate wholeness rather than as a community coming together and worrying and petitioning God or Allah, Spirit, whoever, to intervene and make it, quote, better.
So you've spoken a lot about the power of community in prayer. And what about listeners who feel very alone? Are there places where they can reach out to have this kind of prayer done for them and with them?
Yes, that's in fact part of the reason for doing this podcast, of course, is for me to reach out to a larger community of peoples who don't have access to ongoing community in physical reality. My suggestion is that anybody out there in the listening audience who feels, isolated and not a part of a community of persons who are regularly gathering for prayer of some kind, for the well-being of the universe, for envisioning the earth as whole and well and vibrant, that what they might do is look for places online, if they have access to the Internet, to connect with a lot of worldwide prayer or envisioning networks. For instance, easily one could go to sandraingerman.com and log into her transmutation news site and participate in a global full moon prayer ceremony that is incredibly powerful, that thousands of people all over the globe are participating in. So that's just one example that I'm aware of. And there are more and more practitioners like myself who are creating those kinds of opportunities. For instance, in my most recent teaching programs, we are creating what we call a virtual altar, where members of the community can gather when we're not together in physical reality And either at the same time or at different times, we can go there because it's a place in a non-ordinary reality where we can pray for whatever it is we envision. So it's a place where we go to experience wholeness, we experience light, we experience the expansiveness of the presence of spirit and the wholeness of life as it is currently and as it exists outside of time and space.
The other traditional place where people pray have been in religions, and they've been doing that for centuries. Typically that's been petitioning rather than decreeing. Why might religious or faith-based places want to change their approach to prayer at this time in history?
In my belief, this is a pivotal time in the history of the human race and the history of the evolution of this planet. And it is a critical time for all peoples who have some spiritual belief to come together in a unified way to visualize and pray for the truth, which is that we are whole, we are one, and as a mass of peoples, we can create exactly what we see, trust, and believe. And so, who am I to say that people in, the Baptist church or the synagogue or someplace else should be changing what they've been doing for centuries? Perhaps they won't. And at the same time, I trust and envision the possibility that all peoples eventually will come to that place of recognizing the truth of the power of words and intention and the way we frame how we pray and what we pray for. And so, my vision, my belief is that it is possible for all peoples to come to this place of knowing, and that once that actually materializes, the shift of what we all are seeking, which is peace and harmony of all beings on earth, will actually manifest.
This completes the questions that we have prepared for this topic. Do you have anything you want to add on petition versus decree?
Not at this time. I will have a lot more to say in our next podcast about how we see wholeness versus brokenness, but I think for this podcast, we are complete.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Dory Cote on Shamanism. We'd love to hear your thoughts, stories, reactions, and questions. Come on over to dorycote.com and join the conversation. And tune in next week for more on this subject, or next month for a new subject. You can subscribe to this podcast in iTunes or sign up on dorycote.com to receive notices when the podcasts are posted. That's Dory, D-O-R-Y, and Cote, C-O-T-E.com. Drumming and rattling by Dory Cote and Terry Morgan. Technical assistance and audio production by JillHackett.com. And this is Susan Savelle, wishing you many blessings in your life. We hope to have you join us next time.